This is Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, and this is a breaking news alert. Steve Bannon will be indicted in New York State for his criminal conduct in connection with the Build a Wall scheme, where over $25 million were raised in this phony sham charity, it is alleged, and that money was siphoned to the founders of this organization, and it's alleged that at least over $1 million may have been siphoned to Steve Bannon. Now, Steve Bannon was charged with fraud and wire fraud in connection with his fraudulent conduct, it was alleged, by the federal government out of an investigation in the Southern District of New York, where Steve Bannon was charged on August 17th, 2020. Steve Bannon, however, received a pardon by Donald Trump on January 19th of 2021, just moments before Trump left the White House. But as soon as Steve Bannon received that pardon, a separate investigation was opened up within New York State, within the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, Alvin Bragg, who investigated for state charges that were similar to the federal charges. But as you may know, a presidential pardon is for federal crimes, not for state crimes. So Trump's pardon of the crimes that Bannon was accused of and being prosecuted for by federal prosecutors, that pardon does not apply to state law claims. And these state law claims, this indictment that's brought by Alvin Bragg, it's just being reported by the Washington Post that Steve Bannon is likely to surrender on Thursday in connection with the indictment. And again, Bannon is being accused of engaging in fraudulent conduct, essentially stealing money that was intended or advertised to go to charitable causes or going to build a border wall, but in fact used by the founders and Bannon, who was associated with this project, to steal the money for their own personal benefit. Some of the other founders of the Build a Wall effort were pled guilty with the federal crimes. They did not receive the same pardons that Bannon received. And I'm always reminded of the motion to dismiss that Steve Bannon filed in the federal case brought against him once he received the pardon. And by law, unfortunately, the federal judge had to grant the motion to dismiss Bannon's criminal charges in an order on May 25th of 2021. But in the order, Judge Annalisa Torres, a district judge out of New York, said the following, quoting a case from 1857 about pardons. And she said, "Pardon implies guilt. If there be no guilt, there is no ground for forgiveness. It is an appeal to executive clemency. It is asked as a matter of favor to the guilty. It is granted not of right, but of grace. A party is acquitted on the ground of innocence. He is pardoned through favor. And upon this very ground, it is the pardoning power is never vested in a judge." And then she goes on to say, "The venerable principle remains true in the 21st century." And then it says, "Acceptance of a pardon may imply a confession of guilt." And then it cites Black Law's Dictionary as well on the definition of a pardon. But here, the good news is, and the facts are, that New York prosecutors will be bringing state law charges for violations of New York state law against Bannon. And for those following the Bannon criminal charges, Bannon was found guilty recently in the D.C. District Court for contempt of Congress for not showing up in connection with the January 6th subpoena, and on another count of contempt of Congress for not producing documents. Bannon just recently asked Judge Nichols, who's actually a Trump appointee judge, for a new trial. And in that case, Judge Nichols denied the motion for new trial. Bannon is scheduled to be sentenced by the judge in connection with the contempt of Congress charges in mid to late October. I believe it's October 19th or perhaps the 21st, but right around then in October. And now Bannon is going to surrender and face criminal charges out of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office for violations of New York state law, and also believe that New Jersey is investigating him out of the same criminal conduct, what is alleged for civil penalties as well. So that is the most recent update on Bannon. And actually, as I am giving this report, Bannon has now come up with a statement, and his statement is absurd and ridiculous. George Soros backed the MAGA grassroots movement. War Room is the major source. He's trying to advertise for his podcast. I am proud to be the leading voice on protecting our borders and building a wall. Really, that's what you're proud to do? You fucking grifted all of this money from people, and that's what you think? Absurd. They're coming after us all, not only President Trump and myself. I'm never going to stop fighting. I mean, I'm going to stop reading it there because his statement is utterly absurd. Good riddance, Steve Bannon. We're glad that you are being criminally prosecuted by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. You should have been fully prosecuted by the Southern District of New York prosecutors, but for the fact that Donald Trump pardoned you, and the pardon implied your guilt, and also very grateful that you were found guilty by a jury in the contempt of Congress charges. So that's the breaking news update here on the MeidasTouch network. Make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. We'll keep you updated with more breaking news.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs. It wasn't rigged, you're just a loser. At store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.